amongst the high hills and over the lonely moorlands of Wales, run long-lost and grass-grown trackways. They dip down into lonely hollows filled with the music of the tumbling mountain streams. They pass great walls in such isolated places that you wonder who would have ever gone to the trouble of building them there. The grass and the reeds cover the lines of what were, until 150 years ago, and in some cases only 50 years ago, vital lines of communication for the Welsh economy. These are the old drovers' roads of Wales. I'm riding with Mr. Vernon Jones of Abergwynant over one of the most lonely and romantic of them. This was the way the cattle collected around Harlech and Llanbedr along the western coasts of North Wales were driven on the first stage of their 3 weeks' journey to distant Kent. The trade began centuries back, after the Welsh dynasty of the Tudors had brought peace following the Wars of the Roses. And the Welsh blacks, the only breed that could thrive on the wild Welsh pastures, could be driven in safety to the English markets. The old milestones still stand, or half stand, on some sections of this track lost amongst the hills. As I rode with Mr. Jones, I felt the ghosts of the old drovers were somehow riding with me. What tough, resourceful men they were, carrying their own money, trusted by the community. Didn't old Archbishop Williams, the Welsh Archbishop of York in the days of Charles I, describe the drovers as the Spanish fleet of North Wales, which brings hither what little gold and silver we have? On this particular track, the drovers would come down at the end of a long first day to the old inn at Cae Goronwy, above the Mawddach, near Cadair Idris. The Scotch firs were planted around the inn so that they could be seen miles away as an encouragement to the weary drovers that there was hope of refreshment ahead. The old inn is now in ruins, like so many of the old drovers' haunts. But in the fields around it, the herds would be bedded down for the night at a charge of a halfpenny per head, and many of these fields are known in Wales as halfpenny fields. This one is Cae Goronwy, Goronwy's field. Could Goronwy have been the man who carefully collected the halfpennies? And they say that these halfpenny fields are always greener than the rest. After all, they were well supplied with free manure. There was a great art in driving cattle. You couldn't hustle them, and you couldn't drive them along in a sort of Wild West stampede beloved by the movies. The herds moved at a steady 2 miles an hour to ensure that they arrived in as good a condition as possible. But by all the old accounts, you would certainly tell from afar off that a big herd was on the move. In wet weather, the Welsh blacks steamed, so that they seemed to be walking in a portable mist. And the noise, well, that was a portable bedlam as well. Dogs barking, cattle bellowing, and wild shouts from the men. The Welsh drovers had their own unmistakable signature tune. I walked the first section of their day's journey over to that inn at Cae Goronwy, which we've already seen as their welcome objective. The stone walls guided the cattle uncompromisingly into the wild hills. The Welsh blacks would need all their celebrated stamina to get up to the first test ahead at Bwlch-y-Rhywgyr, well over the 1,000-foot mark. John Roberts and Robert Pugh, well, they'd have been riding on their sturdy Welsh cobs, for they were the captains of the wild battalions of the hired drovers, who went on foot, running after the cattle that tried to break away back to the mountains. I look at a herd of black cattle in a mountain lane, and I can never think of them as just a collection of steers being successfully fattened for the market. To me, they're part of the very fabric out of which our fathers built the foundations of modern Wales. Let's pull up here for a minute, Vernon, because I just want to take a last look at that high ridge over there of Diffwys. Over 2,000 feet up, and the way that the old drovers came from Harlech on their long, long trek to London town. And I just want to remember once more the Pews and the Robertses and the Twmor Nants, the David Joneses. After all, they were the pioneers, Wales's first bankers, Wales's first business organisers, yes, and in a certain way, Wales's first newspapermen and broadcasters. So, salute to the drovers, one of the important makers of modern Wales. Vernon, on we go.